Welcome back, McFly subscribers. Today we're starting a new series on redfish flies. And I'm starting off this series with this Redfish Crack fly, a fly I always keep in my fly box when I know that there's going to be redfish where I'm fishing. It's extremely simple and quick to tie, yet still one of the most effective redfish flies ever created. I will discuss this fly in more detail further in the video, as I'm sure you all want to get started tying right away, but in case you haven't seen this channel before, this is McFly Angler.
Starts now.
Okay, let's start tying. Place a hook securely in your vise. For a hook, I'm using these resin O'Shaughnessy hooks in size 2. These are a long shank stainless hook with a heavy wire, which means they're very strong. We also will need some thread, and today I'm using Vivas 140 power thread in brown. Start your thread right behind the hook eye and snip or snap off the waist. Then bring your thread down to about a third of the way down the hook shank, and then come back up to the hook eye. Back down again, and back up halfway. This will create a thread base for the dumbbell eyes to rest on. And for dumbbell eyes, I will be using these from Risen Fly. They are brass dumbbells with red eyes. Now the red eyes don't really matter, but they come with it, so I'm using them. And I really like these 4mm size for this size hook. However, if you wanted this to sink a little faster, you could use the 4.8mm. Or if you want it to sink really fast, use these lead dumbbell eyes. Okay, let's place the eyes on top of the hook in the center of the thread bump that we made, and tie this down with some very tight X-wraps. Here, let me turn the vise so you can see better. In case you don't already know, X-wraps form an X on top. So you're going over the eyes one way and then over them the other. And make sure that these are very tight wraps. Okay, now let's do under wraps. For that, you go under the eyes on both sides. This will pull the X-wraps together, tightening them even more. And make sure you really tighten these under wraps up also. And when you're done, these eyes should not move on the hook shank. But you can adjust the eyes if canted to one side or the other. Then many people will add a drop of super glue to ensure that these eyes never spin. However, I really like using the Solarez ultra thin resin for this. It has a handy paintbrush in the cap for easy application. And when you apply it on both top and underneath the eyes, and then cure it with your UV light, it hardens instantly, and there is no need to wait for this to dry. You can continue tying the fly right away. So bring your thread down to the hook bend, and then back up right behind the dumbbell eyes. This forms a thread base for the tail fibers to sit on. Now for the tail. We will need some extra select craft fur, and today I'm using tan. Now extra select is quite a bit longer than the regular craft fur that you can buy in the craft shops. It also comes in just about every color under the rainbow. But here are a few examples of what I like to use on this fly. Slide your scissors under the fur in a straight line, picking up a section about 2 inches long and maybe a 1/4 inch wide, and then cut it off the swatch. Pinch up about halfway up the fur, and then pull out the under fur and short fibers. Now I find that this has just a little bit too much taper to it, so I pinch tight at the base of the fiber and pull out just the tips, and then replace them on the bunch so that the longer tips align with the shorter tips. You can see that this makes the bunch a little bit wider, and it's now ready to tie in. I measure out about a 2 hook shank length tail, and then transfer that measurement to my other hand, and tie down right behind the dumbbell eyes. Now tie down the hook shank to the hook bend with open spiral wraps, trying to keep the craft fur on top of the hook shank. Then trim off the waist fur. Now let's bar up the tail a bit, and for that I'm using a brown and orange Sharpie. Pull the tail back tight and make stripes on both sides. Now you can make these bars as close or wide as you want, and here I made 4 stripes. Then I come back through right behind the brown stripes and make orange stripes. I did 5 with orange. Let's add a little crystal flash, and I like gold, but you can use whatever color you want. Pull off 3 strands and snip off the hank. Tie these in so that they're on the side of the tail, then tie up a couple wraps. Then fold the forward-facing fibers rearward and tie them in on the other side of the tail. Cut them to equal length, and then bring your thread up a couple wraps. Now for some legs. Here I have these Sili legs in this clear and fire orange tip, but you can use whatever color you want. They come in so many awesome colors. Here are just a few examples. But you can also use round rubber legs like these centipede legs. Pull 3 legs off the bunch. Now if you're using the fire tip legs, tie them in so the fire tip starts about a 1/4 of the way down the tail, with a couple tight wraps. Then cut the legs off so they extend to just shy of the tip of the tail, and cut off the excess. But keep this as you can use it for another fly. Okay, let's clean up the tag ends with some wraps and tie down to the start of the tail. Now we need a dubbing brush, and this is one I made myself, and I will link below to a video of me making this brush, if you're interested in making your own. This one has little round rubber legs in it. You can buy these brushes pre-made though, however they are quite expensive, and the EP Crustaceous brush is similar to the one I made. I will link below to that as well. Tie in your brush right at the start of the tail, and tie the wire in up the shank. If your wire is long, then cut it off with some wire cutters. Now this tag piece of wire is sharp, so fold it down so it doesn't cut your thread, and then tie over the tag piece. And bring your thread up to right in front of the dumbbell eyes. Now start wrapping the brush up the hook shank, stroking back the fibers with each wrap. You can make this as dense as you wish, but I find that open spiral wraps, rather than butting each wrap up against the last, works perfect for me. I make 5 wraps, then one last one right up against the last, behind the eyes. Now pull the wire forward and capture it right in front of the dumbbells. Now you will trap a bunch of fibers here though, so try to stroke out the fibers with the wrap, which should help keep from trapping too many. Wiggling your thread as well can help with this. Okay, make 2 wraps over the wire, and then pull the wire and materials rearward, and wrap back up over them with a couple more wraps. Then cut the wire off with your wire cutters. Push down the wire tag and wrap over a couple more times. Now we need to clean up the head, so pull the materials back and make a few more wraps over the material. It's difficult to get all the materials laying back though, and sometimes you will have to pull off a few stray strands. But build up a little head on this fly and then whip finish. To cement the head, I use that same UV resin I used earlier. Paint a little over the whip finish and then cure it with your UV light. Now we need to pick out the brush fibers, as they are all twisted around each other. Use your bodkin to pick it out all the way around. Now this doesn't have to be perfect, as the more you fish with it, fish teeth themselves will pick out some extra fibers for you. But there we go, the fly is now finished. This is a super simple and quick fly to tie that works amazingly for redfish. It mimics shrimp, but with that fat dubbing body can also look like a crab to the redfish, both of which are some of their favorite prey. It's lightly weighted so it sinks to the bottom and will usually land hook point up, which helps to keep them from snagging. It also likes to sit on the bottom with the tail sticking up, looking like a crab in a defensive pose with its claw sticking out. And when you make short little strips, the front end lifts and wiggles, adding more to the action. Now you can fish this also as a streamer if you want to tie it with a light dumbbell. You can jig it along, which will mimic little fleeing bait fish if the reds are targeting mullet or other small bait, making this one of the most versatile patterns for reds. And that's why I always have them with me when I go fishing in the Gulf for redfish. I have caught quite a few nice reds on this fly. This one here I saw tailing at the grass line, and as soon as the fly hit the water, it smashed it. And you can see here the Redfish Crack in its mouth, and this was a nice slot-sized red. What a great fly to start off with this new redfish series, and I'm starting to fill up this redfish box. Last month I did a series on bass flies. I started that series with the Clouser minnow, which is a great bass fly, but it also works great for other fish species, including redfish. Then I tied up a crayfish pattern I developed called the McFly. Then I did a bass popper for you all, and I finished up that series with the Game Changer, which also could work for redfish. In fact, almost all bass flies also work well for reds. So if you want to check out that series, I will link to it at the end of this video and in the description section. Make sure you guys check back next week, as I will be continuing this redfish fly series with another fly I developed called the McFly Foam Shrimp. This fly is awesome for fishing hard bottom flats, where the reds are tailing. It sits on the bottom with the nose pointed up, helping to keep you from snagging on oyster beds. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any future videos like this foam shrimp. Oh, and by the way, I will be selling these fly boxes soon on Amazon. They're made entirely of foam, which means that they float if you drop them in the water. They're thin enough to fit multiple in your fly pack, yet have enough room in them to hold many redfish flies, on both sides as well. The clasps are magnetic and quite strong as well. They will auto-close almost every time you drop them, so you will lose less flies and be able to retrieve your floating fly box if you accidentally drop them while tying on your next fly. Now these are not available yet for sale, as it takes a while to get them approved for sale on Amazon, but I'm currently selling these magnetic backed and silicone backed boxes that I use for nymphs and dry flies. I will link below to my Amazon storefront if you're interested in picking up these boxes, and keep checking back as I will have these foam boxes available soon. Also, don't forget to check out my sponsor Resin Fly. They made the hooks I use today, but they also make some of the best fly rods and reels for the money I have ever used. Best off, they're offering you all a discount. So if you're in the market for a new rod or a bunch of hooks or beads, go to www.resinfly.com and type in McFly at checkout, and they'll give you 15% off of your first order with them. Thank you all for watching. If you like this video, do me a favor and click the like button. Also, if you could share my videos with all your fishing friends, I would be much appreciative. I will see you on the next video. Now you go catch some fish.